Yeah. So number 18 last year is pretty much where you did commands. And that was about it. Okay. Does anybody know number 18 anymore? Lily, you got it? Let's hear it.
One meine Haus. Wait, yeah, biegen Sie links. Is that how you say
Yeah.
it? Okay, biegen Sie links in die Straße ab. Biegen Sie links in die 136. Straße ab. Biegen Sie rechts in die Schänenstraße ab. Biegen Sie links in die Straße ab. Biegen Sie rechts in die Hauptstraße 3 ab. Biegen Sie rechts in die 142.
Give her a round of applause.
She's not done yet.
Die Schule ist auf die rechten Seite.
Yeah, sure. And that, Taylor, is the question that Herr Mitchell pulled from your exam that they still had to do. Okay, so it's a rite of passage. Alright, so that one, use the command form. Because you're telling people turn and go and drive and all that stuff. So it's command. Okay, but you did the simplest form of the command form because you didn't have to conjugate verbs, really. Okay, so there are 4 times that you can use the command form. Okay, you can only use it if you're talking to somebody. So any of the 3 ways to say you. Okay. So any of those are different ways to say you. And you can use it for the wir form. Now, wir sounds weird because you're saying we. You're not commanding yourself to do something. But when they use it, they're using it as a suggestion. Like, let's go to the movies. Let's do our homework. Let's get a drink of water so we don't have hiccups anymore, or whatever. Okay? So when you use the wir, it's like saying let's, whatever. So you don't actually use the verb let when you're trying to do that. Okay, so we're going to walk through step by step how you do each of the different commands, because they're a little bit different. Okay? So, start with do. Now, step 1 for these is always the same. Number 1 is you conjugate the verb, just like you normally would. Okay? So when you conjugate it for do, we're going to just use spielen as our example, because it's a nice, easy verb that you're used to. Okay? When you conjugate it, you end up with du spielst. So that's step 1. Step 2 is I call it dusting it off. Because you get rid of the do and the st ending. So when you combine those things, you've got du-st. You dust it off. Does that make sense? You're all so busily writing. Do you understand that concept? Yes or no? Ah, okay. So that leaves you with spiel. Sonntag. When you're done with that, you just put it in the sentence. So you just say, like, if you're going to play soccer, you just say spiel Fußball. And that's it. One major thing that you will like is that when you conjugate a verb and it changes from A to A umlauts, like laufen, becomes läufst. When you do the command form, don't use those. If they were already there, then you use them. But if you've added them in because it's an irregular verb, you don't put them in there. Okay, so like it'll just be fahr or lauf or whatever. Okay? So the dust part, does that make sense? Yes. That is the biggest part that most people forget. Okay, dust it off. Moving on. Next one is ear. Okay, so this is for 2 or more people that you know well. Okay. Conjugate it just like you did before. So now I've got ear spielt. And this time you're going to lop off your ear. Go Van Gogh. Okay. So it sounds like ear, but it's really ear. Get it? Okay. So the easiest way to think of this is that when you do the command form, you dust off your ears. That way you've got them all kind of in one concept. So you've got the dust you're getting rid of, and you've got the ear that you're getting rid of. Okay, so that means you've conjugated and you got ear spielt. You lop off your ears, so now you've just got spielt. And now your new command form is spielt Fußball. Make sense? Yeah? Nein? Vielleicht?
Yeah.
Maybe? Jein? Yeah. So those were the hard two. The other two are easier. Okay? Well, you've already done the formal one quite a bit. So step one is going to be what? Yeah, you conjugate your verb for the formal, which except for sein is the same as the infinitive form, which makes it super simple. And then all you do is you flip-flop them. Okay, so now instead of Sie spielen, you have spielen Sie. And this is part of why I get on you guys about punctuation. If that was a question mark, for example, instead of an exclamation mark, that's a legitimate question. Spielen Sie Fußball? Do you play soccer? But since you're doing it as a command, you have to punctuate appropriately so that it's a very polite command, because you don't usually command somebody who earns higher respect than you do. Okay? But you never know. Okay? So then you would say, Spielen Sie Fußball? So the intonation and the punctuation matter. Changes the context. If you ever spend time in Germany too, you can tell the type of product that's being promoted based on which command form that they use when they're doing their advertisements. So, for example, if they're advertising a news show, like Tagesschau or something like that, they're going to use the formal because it's a very formal type of show and things like that. Okay? On the other hand, if they're trying to sell you a lollipop, they're not going to use the formal. So you can usually kind of figure out what kind of company it is or what kind of product at the very least it is based on, do they use the du, do they use the ear, do they use the sie, maybe they use the wir. So it tells you a lot about the product simply based on which one they use. All right. The last form, wir, so remember that's the let's, works the same way as the sie. Only difference is you don't capitalize the wir. Capitalize the sie because it's formal. Okay? But you still just flip-flop them. So conjugate first, and just like the formal, unless it's sein, it's just going to be the same as the infinitive. Okay? So it's wir spielen, and just flip-flop it. So spielen wir. So spielen wir Fußball. Let's play soccer. Whereas if you put that question mark there, same as the other one. Are we playing soccer? Spielen wir Fußball? Okay. So intonation, punctuation matter. Okay. Sein is goofy, just like every other form of sein is goofy. Okay. So this is one that doesn't follow the pattern of anything. Okay. So these are conjugations for it that you will need. Doesn't really work in a verb T necessarily. But if you're going to say the du command form for sein, you'll just say sei. Okay. So then if you put something like net after it, what does sei net mean? Be nice. Sei net. Alright, it's a good phrase to know. If you're going to command more than one person, that one actually looks exactly like the conjugation for it. Okay. So seid net. And the wir form and the sie and sie form, so there, both are sein. Okay. So you'd say seien Sie nett or seien wir nett. Alright, we're going to do some practice here. So we're going to redo the same phrase over and over using the different command forms. Okay, so we're going to say go home. This one's going to be 3 words for the first 2. Okay? Besides having the verb to go, we need 2 other words. How do you say go home? Not including the gehen part.
Oh, okay.
Nach Hause. So we need nach Hause in all of them. What does zu Hause mean?
At home.
Good. Okay, so step 1 for the du form. What's step 1? Conjugate it. So we've got du gehst, now what?
Now we take away the do and the ST.
Good, we dust it off. So now we're left with geh nach Hause. Done.
That was it.
That's it. Now we're going to do the ear form. Step 1 is what?
Conjugate.
Conjugate. So we've got ear, what? Gate. Ear gate. What's next step? Lop off your ear. So you don't do anything to the verb. Verb stays the same. You just get rid of the ear. Gate. Nach Hause.
Someone come get the girl.
Ausrufezeichen.
Yeah, that's me.
Alright. Formal. Step 1.
Conjugate.
Conjugate. So what do we have?
Gay.
Sie gehen. What do we need to do?
Flipping.
Good. So now we've got gehen.
She's just on fire right now.
Sie nach Hause. What about wir? Step 1. Conjugate. So we've got wir, gehen. Now what? Flip flop. So we've got gehen wir nach Hause.
Way to go. Dreamwork makes the team work.
Weiter geht's. Because you need to know how to say go to the disco. It's an important phrase in your vocabulary. You will use it probably never. But okay.
No, she said.
I'm just trying to give you the word. I pretty much spoon-fed that particular word. Okay. So, yeah, they still call it a disco. We call it a club, right? It's a dance club. Okay, so what's the phrase? How do you say to the disco? We just talked about this. Angie talked about it last year.
Sue.
Wait, no,
It's not zu. It's not nach.
Knock this
Oh,
girl.
Indie disco.
I heard him mumbling it.
Okay, so that's our end phrase. Alright, so do. What's it going to be?
Also with the K.
Conjugate.
Conjugate, and then?
Then you take off the ST and the do.
Yep. So we've left with gay indie disco. Ausrufezeichen.
Do you say the do or do you not? Oh.
That's why you dust it off. You get rid of the do and the st.
So you'd only put der if you're like actually there?
Correct. So then you'd probably say Tanz in der Disco. Because it'd be really weird if you told somebody to go around in the confines of the disco. Go around in the confines of the disco. Alright, ear, step 1. Conjugate. Then,
Chop off the ear.
a little bit more violent, yes. Lop off the ear. So we're left with gate, indie disco. Ausrufezeichen. Exclamation mark. Alright, Z, what do we do? Conjugate, and then? Flip it. So we're left with? Gehen Sie in die Disco. It's a weird phrase to say in the command form, in the formal. Go to the disco. Formal person who gets more respect. What about wir? Step 1?
Conjugate.
Then?
Flip.
And then we've got? Gehen wir in die Disco. Good.
It's like forcing someone to go have fun.
Go
have fun. Go into disco,
The violence sounds like it should go more with lopping off the ear, if anything, but yeah. Okay. Ready, set, next one. Eat cake.
Oh, you don't have to tell me twice.
Okay, now, what's the word for cake? Kuchen. No umlauts, otherwise it's kitchens.
Who used to mix that up all the
A lot of people.
Gunner used to
A
mix
lot of people. Oh, Gunner. Aw. Okay, what's the verb to eat? Essen. Anything unique about Essen that we need to know about? Irregular. Okay, so, do form. Okay, so we've conjugated. Now what?
What is
So we get rid of the do, that's easy. You cannot get rid of the stem of the verb. So you didn't add an extra S before your T, so you can't take away the extra S before the T. You take away the T. Okay? So now you've got is, which just looks like ib, and it looks funny. Yeah? Okay, but is, and now what? Kuchen. If you know anybody from Edina now, you can say something. Cake eaters. All right. Ear form, step 1. Conjugate. How do you conjugate it? Est. Okay, not ist, because it's the E, not the I. Okay? Then what?
Then you take away the E.
Yep. So you are left with, it's 2 S's, not the S set. So est, and then Kuchen. Ausrufezeichen. Formal, step 1. Conjugate, then
S and then flip it.
flip flop. So we're left with
S and Z.
S and Z. You may go ahead and say that one to me. S and Z Kuchen.
Whenever I think of eating cake, I think of the scene in Matilda.
All right, I'm going to stop you. We got other stuff to go through, Brooke. Okay. Veer, step 1. Conjugate, step 2. So we're left with Essen wir Kuchen. Moving on. Next. Shh. Yeah, not cushion or something like that. Okay. Take out a pencil. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, you have one. I don't have pencils. You know. No, that's the sentence we're translating, people. Okay. How do you say a pencil? Bleistift. Der, du das? Der. What kind of ein word are we going to use? If you're saying, I am taking out a pencil, or you are taking out a pencil, einen. It's accusative still. So you still have to think about that step. So we've got einen Bleistift. Okay? What's the verb to take out? You hear this almost every single day that you, well, every time you have homework for sure. Raus means out. Yeah, that's when you get kicked out because you didn't take out your homework or whatever. Blank euer Hausaufgaben, blank. Okay? So something with nehmen. Combined with Ethan's answer. What did you say? Raus. Raus nehmen. To take out. Ah. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a phrase you hear on a daily basis, so I'm always telling you to take out something. All right? Nehmt euer Hausaufgaben raus. Nehmt euer Notizbücher raus. Nehmt euer iPads raus. Oh, but now you know. Now you know how to do it. Okay, so step 1. So we conjugate. Anything we need to know about ausnehmen? We do need to separate it? Good. Anything else we need to know about, we'll say, with nehmen? Anything you need to know about nehmen? It's irregular. How do you conjugate it for du? Nimmst. Okay, so we've conjugated. Du nimmst. Now what? Yep. Dust it off. So we've got nimm. Nimm. And then? Einen Bleistift. And the raus goes at the end. So the separable part still goes at the end, and the accusative and dative stuff still matters. Yep.
So for like the iPad sign, why is bitte after raus, please?
The comma is where it stops. And yeah, it's just being polite. We're not doing polite commands today. You can always add a bitte. You could also put it in other places, like nimm bitte einen Bleistift raus or something like that. Okay, next one, ear. Step 1, conjugate. How do you conjugate nehmen for ear? Named. Then what? Lop off your ear. So we're left with named, and then? Einen Bleistift raus. Good. Formal. Step 1,
Conjugate.
conjugate. Step 2,
Flip it.
flip it. So we've got nehmen Sie. Flip-floppen. Den Bleistift raus. And wir. Step 1,
Conjugate.
conjugate. Step 2,
Flip.
flip-flop. So we left with nehmen wir. Let's take out a pencil. One more slide of these, and then you're done with the actual note-taking part. After that, when we go to the next PowerPoint, you're just hanging out and watching. All right. Last one. Be quick. Be fast. And this is the special verb.
Yeah, I thought you were like go fast.
It's almost like I chose these on purpose, so that you would get used to the phrases that I'm going to say to you all the time.
That's a lot of
Oh,
cake. You said
you're gonna toast eat cake and go home?
Well, maybe.
I'm okay with that.
If you're eating cake in here, then I'll tell you to go home. Okay. So what's the word for quick or fast? Schnell. The verb to be. Sein. So this is the goofy one. Okay. So do form. What's it going to be? Sei. Schnell. Sei schnell. What about ihr? Seid schnell. Sie? Seien. And then what? Sie? Seien Sie schnell. Und wir? Seien wir schnell. Gut.